This is video 2 from Unit 9, Lesson 1. So we're going to continue simplifying, but this time we're going to add in variables. Okay, so let's just think about it for a little bit. All right, well, the square root of x squared. Okay, well, I know that x squared is x times x. Okay, so the square root of x squared, you want to know what number times itself is that number. The square root of x squared is just x. So those are like inverse operations. You're squaring and then square root. All right, then x to the fourth. So everything else I'm going to write as x squared. So I'm going to rewrite them as x squared. So x to the fourth I can rewrite as x squared times x squared. So remember, when you multiply a common base, you add their exponent. So that's why I can write x to the fourth as x squared times x squared. So technically, you know, x to the fourth is this. And then if I just group them, I have x squared times x squared. Okay, so using that multiplication property, we'll separate. Square root of x squared is x. Ooh. X, and then x, so x squared. The square root of x to the fourth is x squared. Okay, x to the fifth. So x to the fifth will be x squared times x I have an extra x. So let me separate all of these. Square root of x squared and square root of x squared and x squared is x. So the square root of x just has to stay there. I cannot take out an x because it's not x squared. So this stays under the radical. So I do x times x, which is x squared on the outside, and you're still stuck with that 1 left over under the radical. Okay, x to the 9th. Well, first of all, maybe we want to think about it like this. X to the 8th times x. You have an extra x. So your x to the 8th you can write as 4 of these x squared. And then you have your extra x. So each of these each of these x squared of x squareds will be x, and then you have your 1 left over. So x times x times x times x is x to the fourth, and then you have your 1 x left over. So what you might notice is that, okay, x to the 8th, the square root of that is actually just x to the fourth. So if you have an even power, then the square root is just dividing it in 2. So like x to the fourth, divide that by 2 is x squared. If you have x to the 6th, so the square root of x to the 6th is just x cubed. So it's without doing all this work here. All right, let's look at some more. We're going to put numbers and variables together. All right, I have x squared and y to the fifth. So those are not the same base. So I want to separate those two bases first. The first thing I'm going to do is this. And then I will deal with the x's and the y's individually. Okay, well, square root of x squared I know is just x. Okay, square root of y to the fifth is y to the fourth times y. So square root of y to the fourth is y squared, just half, and then you have this y left over. Then what you do is you combine everything on the outside of the radicals with and then combine everything on the inside. So I can put these two together, which is just xy squared times square root of y. Okay, I have three bases. I have a number and then two variables. So I will separate those. And then deal with each one individually. Okay, square root of 36, that's a perfect square. That's just 6. A to the 5th, so I can write that as the square root of a to the 4th times a. And then square root of b, really nothing I can do. That's just going to say square root of b. So separate square root of a to the 4th and a. Remember the square root of a to the 4th is a squared. And then I have just that a left over inside. Okay, so here's where we put what's on the outside together. So 6a squared. And then we put what's on the inside together. A times b, which is ab. So you'll have numbers in front and then one radical, because you'll put everything on the outside together and then everything on the inside together. Okay, this one, you have 4 bases, so square root of 18 times square root of x cubed times square root of y squared times the square root of z to the 5th. Okay, square root of 18. 18 is not in your perfect square list. So remember that list, the 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, so on. It's not in the perfect square list, but it has a perfect square factor. I can simplify it. So I can rewrite square root of 18 as 9 times 2. I'm going to just finish 18 off here. So then I can write that, separate those, the square root of 9 times square root of 2, which is 3 square root of 2. Okay, so this 18 is done. Okay, x cubed, I can write that as x squared times x. And then if I separate my x squared and my square root of x, the square root of x squared is x, so 1x on the outside, and then you still have 1 left on the inside. Okay? And then I will deal with my y squared. Well, square root of y squared is just y. Okay, that one was easy. And then my z to the 5th, I will write as z to the 4th times z. Separate those. Square root of z to the 4th is z squared, so that comes outside. And then you have a z left over on the inside. So I like to just deal with each base individually. And then at the end, you combine everything that's on the outside. So 3 times x times y times z squared. So that's 3x y z squared. And then everything on the inside. So 2x z. So square root stays on the inside, 2x z. And that is my final answer. Okay. We can do Unit 9, Assignment 2.